Inter Milan was in the middle of a training session when the call came. September 2004. Adriano Leite Ribeiro, 22 years old, 40 goals that year, the most feared striker on the planet, picked up his phone. It was from Brazil. His father, Almir, had died. A gunshot wound to the head. No one knows if it was an accident. No one knows if it was suicide. What everyone knows is that Adriano was never the same again. The man they called l'imperatore, the emperor, scored 74 goals in 4 years before that call. After it, in the next 12 years, he'd score 53 times across 11 different clubs. This is the story of football's greatest tragedy. And it starts not in Milan, not in the San Siro. It starts in a favela called Vila Cruzeiro. Vila Cruzeiro is one of Rio de Janeiro's most dangerous favelas. Drug trafficking, gang violence, poverty that most of us can't imagine. In the 1990s, it was a war zone. And in that war zone, a kid with a left foot like a cannon was about to change everything. Adriano was born in 1982. His father, Almir, worked odd jobs, construction, security, whatever he could find. His mother, Rosilda, raised him and his younger brother in a tiny house with no running water. Football wasn't a hobby in Vila Cruzeiro. It was escape. It was survival. And Adriano was different from the start. At 10 years old, he wasn't just bigger than the other kids. He was stronger, faster, and he could strike a ball harder than teenagers twice his age. Local coaches used the same word over and over, monster. Not because he was aggressive, because he was unstoppable. At 14, he joined Flamengo's youth academy. By 17, he was in the first team. And on his professional debut, July 2000, Sao Paulo away, he didn't just play well. He scored a header, then a free kick, then a penalty. 17 years old, a hat trick on debut, live on national television. The phone started ringing from Europe the next morning. Inter Milan won the race. In the summer of 2001, they paid 13 million euros for a teenager who had played less than 20 professional matches. They didn't know it yet, but they had just signed the most explosive talent Brazil had produced since Ronaldo Nazario. Milan wasn't easy. Adriano was 19 years old, spoke no Italian, and had never lived outside Brazil. Inter loaned him out almost immediately, first to Fiorentina, then to Parma. And at Parma, something clicked. 23 goals in 37 games. Defenders couldn't handle him. He was 6'2", built like a heavyweight boxer, but with the touch of a playmaker. He could run through you or around you. And his left foot wasn't a foot, it was a weapon. There's a clip from this era that still circulates. Parma versus Udinese. Adriano picks the ball up 35 yards from goal. 2 touches to set himself, and then he unleashes. The ball moves so fast the camera almost loses it. The goalkeeper doesn't move, he can't. The ball is in the top corner before he's even registered the shot. That clip has millions of views. Because it's not just a goal, it's a statement. It says, "I am not like the others." Inter brought him back in January 2004. And from that moment, he was untouchable. He scored against Juventus, he scored against Milan, he scored against Roma. It didn't matter who was in front of him. Adriano treated elite defenders the same way he treated the kids in Vila Cruzeiro. Then came the summer of 2004, the Copa America in Peru. Brazil sent a B team. No Ronaldo, no Ronaldinho, no Kaká. The pressure was on the 22-year-old to lead the line. Adriano scored 7 goals in 6 games. Top scorer, player of the tournament. He scored the equalizer in the 93rd minute of the final against Argentina, a thunderbolt from outside the box, and then scored the winning penalty in the shootout. Brazil had a new hero. Inter had a new emperor. The Italian press gave him the nickname, l'imperatore, the emperor. He signed a contract extension worth millions. He bought his mother a mansion. He was on billboards, magazine covers, Nike commercials. He was 22 years old and the football world was at his feet. And then, 4 months later, his phone rang. Almir Leite Ribeiro was more than Adriano's father. He was his coach, his mentor, his best friend. When Adriano was a kid in Vila Cruzeiro, Almir was the one who took him to training, When Inter came calling, Almir was the one who helped him decide. Every goal, every contract, every celebration, Almir was there. And then he wasn't. The details are hazy. September 2004. Almir was found at home with a gunshot wound to the head. He was 44 years old. The official report called it an accident, a hunting rifle that discharged accidentally. But people who knew the family have always had doubts. What's certain is this: Adriano was in Milan when he got the news. He flew back to Brazil immediately, and when he returned to Italy, his teammates didn't recognize him. Javier Zanetti, Inter's captain and one of the most respected figures in football, said years later, "We couldn't reach him. We tried everything. He would train, go home, lock himself in his room, and drink. He drank to forget. He drank to sleep. He drank because the pain of being awake was too much." Zanetti said the moment that broke him was at a team dinner. Adriano had been quiet all night. Then he got a phone call from Brazil. It was his family, calling to say they loved him and missed him. He hung up, turned to Zanetti, and said, "Javier, I had everything. Money, fame, the best job in the world, and I would trade every single bit of it to have my father back." Then he broke down in front of the entire team. The most feared striker in world football, sobbing at a dinner table. After that, nothing was the same. The decline wasn't instant. That's what makes it so painful. There were flashes, moments where he looked like himself again. In 2005, he still scored 28 goals for Inter. He won the Confederations Cup with Brazil. He was named the tournament's best player. But away from the cameras, the cracks were widening. He started missing training, showing up late, then not showing up at all. Inter's manager, Roberto Mancini, tried everything. Tough love, arm around the shoulder, public criticism, private conversations. Nothing worked. Adriano was drinking heavily, not socially, destructively. His weight fluctuated. He'd put on 5 kilos, lose it in preseason, then put on 8 more. The physical transformation was visible to everyone. The Italian media, which had worshipped him 2 years earlier, turned vicious. They called him lazy. They called him a waste of talent. They speculated about depression, alcoholism, drug use. What almost no one said was, "This man is grieving." Moratti, Inter's president at the time, later admitted, "We didn't understand. None of us understood what he was going through. We thought it was a discipline problem. It was a mental health crisis." By 2008, Inter had given up. They sent him on loan to Sao Paulo in Brazil, a last attempt to let him find himself at home. And for a brief, beautiful moment, it worked. He scored 17 goals in 28 games at Sao Paulo. The fans adored him. The Emperor seemed to be coming back. Inter recalled him. And then, in April 2009, Adriano didn't show up for a flight back to Milan. He didn't answer his phone for 3 days. Inter filed a missing person report. The football world panicked. When he finally surfaced, he released a short statement. He said he was in Vila Cruzeiro. He said he was done. He said, "I've lost the joy of playing. I'm not coming back." He was 27 years old. At the age when most strikers enter their prime, L'Imperatore had abdicated. The next decade was a slow, painful drift. Flamengo gave him a chance in 2009. He scored 19 goals and won the Brazilian league. Roma brought him back to Italy. It lasted 7 months, 0 goals, 3 appearances. Corinthians gave him a contract, 7 months, 2 goals, then released. 11 clubs in 12 years in the end. None of them got the real Adriano. They got a ghost. His last professional contract was with Miami United in the 4th tier of American soccer. He played 1 match. Then he went home. The numbers tell the story more clearly than any words can. Before his father died, 74 goals in 4 seasons. After, 53 goals in 12 years. That's not a decline. That's a tragedy in 2 acts. Today, Adriano lives in Rio de Janeiro. He spends most of his time in Vila Cruzeiro, the same favela he escaped as a teenager. He's been photographed at local parties, at barbecues with childhood friends, sitting on the same concrete steps where he grew up. The internet, as the internet does, has turned these images into memes. Look at Adriano now. What a waste. He could have been a legend. But here's what those memes miss. Adriano has said, publicly and repeatedly, that he doesn't regret his choices. He said that money and fame meant nothing to him once his father was gone. He said that returning to Vila Cruzeiro, to his people, his roots, his community, is the only thing that made him feel human again. In a rare interview with the Players' Tribune, he said, and I want you to hear these words, "I am not a victim. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I had my moment. I lived my dream. And when the dream became a nightmare, I chose to wake up." He also said this, "People think I wasted my talent. I didn't waste anything. I just realized that some things are more important than goals." There's something deeply uncomfortable about the Adriano story, because it forces us to ask a question we don't want to answer. What if he's right? What if the tragedy isn't that Adriano stopped playing football, but that we expected him to keep playing while he was falling apart? The football industry chewed him up and spat him out. The media called him a failure. The fans made him a meme. And through all of it, he never asked for our pity. He just asked to go home. L'imperatore didn't fall. He chose to stop fighting a war he never asked for. If you want more untold football stories, the rise and fall, the tragedy and triumph, the human beings behind the highlights, subscribe to Football Ups, new documentary every week. And tell me in the comments, which forgotten football legend should I cover next? Balotelli? Garrincha? George Best? Let me know. I'll see you in the next one.